Puddles. Remember in 2018 when everything kicked off because of puddles? That was a fun time to be on the internet, wasn't it? Well, I'm pretty sure there won't be any complaints this time out. After we caught a brief glimpse of Miles Morales in Marvel's Spider-Man, people were wondering when we'd get to take control of Harlem's very own web-slinger. With the launch of the PS5, we've got our answer. Of course, it's not quite as straightforward as that. Spider-Man Miles Morales launches in a cross-gen state, with the PS5 version also launching with a deluxe edition containing a remaster of one of the PS4's shining lights. As things currently stand, we only have access to the PS5 version of Miles, but not the remaster. As such, this review will be focused squarely on that. The game opens up with not one but two Spider-Men. Peter and Miles have been working hand in web since the events of the first game, fighting crime across New York City and putting away as many criminals as they can. After a chaotic opening scene battling yet another supervillain hellbent on destruction, Peter decides that it's probably time to take a bit of a break and heads away on holiday. He does so, as you'd expect from a mentor, with the strict instruction to stay out of trouble. Fortunately for you, that lasts all of about 5 minutes before all hell starts to break loose. One of the best things about 2018's Spider-Man title was that Peter Parker was introduced as an established character. Someone who was assured in his role as Spider-Man, with plenty of confidence and ability to do what he does best. It strayed away from the origin story traps, and it really helped ground the character in the game world without feeling the need to over-explain everything. Thankfully, Miles Morales continues that trend, although it is picking up Miles' story at a significantly earlier point than 2018's Peter Parker. Miles is a much younger and therefore much more naive Spidey, but unlike the web-slinger who came in before him, he has an immediate mentor, someone who's been there, done it, and got the spandex. It's a really interesting dynamic that's carried out pretty well throughout the story. Miles spends much of the game learning about and coming to terms with some new powers that simply didn't exist for Peter Parker, and the addition of bioelectric powers make for a couple of genuinely cool gameplay moments. It wouldn't be a Spidey tale without some drama from family and friends either, and the cast of characters is rounded out nicely with enough faces that fans of the series should be familiar with. The main premise of the game centres around the Tinkerer, a sort of tech wizard who's hell-bent on overseeing the demise of Roxxon Energy. Roxxon have developed a new type of fuel called Newform, and the Tinkerer wants to claim it for the Underground, a well-funded band of hackers, brawlers and thieves who have a tendency to dress in dark clothes with neon highlights. Much like Martin Lee's band of criminals in the 2018 game, the Underground will stick together in bunches as they take over areas of the city in order to cut the power and generally cause a bit of havoc. All the while, Roxxon's CEO Simon Krieger is up to something, and it's down to Miles to figure it all out. What a time for the real Spider-Man to up sticks and go on holiday, eh? It's the left to his own devices attitude that really makes Miles shine in this game. While on the surface it could be easy to dismiss it as a retread of some of the same mission types and collectible hunts as the first game, with slightly more colourful enemies, the activities and fistfights really do take a back seat to the journey that Miles is on as he begins to find out who he truly is. It's a trait that filters down into every pore of the game as well, whether it's the animations that show just how awkward Miles can be while swinging around New York, or whether it's his faux superhero voice when he clears out a building of enemies and reports back to the person who set you the mission. The personality on display here is in abundance. It also handles social issues delicately as well. At times when trotting around his Harlem neighbourhood, you'll hear shouts of "He's our Spider-Man" and the like, showing just how important it is, even to fictional characters, to have positive role models and people looking out for them. There's also an extremely touching moment where Spidey takes on a mission brought to him by a deaf girl, and he signs back and forth with her in a way that doesn't scream, "Look, we're being diverse," it just happens, and it's wonderful. While we're on the subject of things being wonderful, let's just dive into the technical stuff, shall we? Spider-Man Miles Morales looks absolutely sensational. The 2018 game wasn't anything to sniff at, but there are points in this sequel that will honestly make the difference look night and day. Whether you want to play it in performance mode and get a near as damn it locked 60 frames per second, or if you want to play it in 30 frames a second and get your 4K on with some truly beautiful real-time ray-traced reflections, yes, including puddles, you'll not be disappointed with what Miles Morales has to offer. For anyone who's had the privilege of playing ray-traced games on PC over the past couple of years, you'll know just how difficult it is to keep performance at a high level with these effects turned on, but Insomniac have managed it, with a beautiful looking title from start to finish. It's also impossible to talk about this version of Miles Morales without mentioning the quite frankly insane loading times. From a cold boot with all apps quit and the PS5 unplugged, I was able to get into actual gameplay in Miles Morales in under 45 seconds. To get to the game's main menu from the PS5 dashboard took around 7 seconds. Again, this is from cold, not quick resuming, and to get into gameplay from that menu is under 3 seconds. Fast travel from one side of the map to the other literally takes a couple of seconds, and there are seemingly no loading times between indoor and outdoor environments, disguised by a very clever transition as you fly out of a vent or a window. If this is the kind of speed that developers have to work with on the PS5, then I have to say I'm not expecting to see another loading screen ever again. It's absolutely jaw-dropping the first time that it happens. If this generation's going to do anything, I strongly suspect it's going to curb my social media addiction, as I'm so used to scrolling through the hellscape that is my Twitter feed during lengthy loading times. Miles Morales also makes fantastic use of the DualSense. In addition to the rumble that builds up as you prep for a big jump from the ground, the adaptive triggers add a bit of agency and weight to your swinging, as well as being used for other scenes in the game where they'll fight you back. I keep saying this, but I honestly hope the use of these becomes a standard feature in games going forward. If I had any complaints about Spider-Man Miles Morales, it's that some of the side quests and collectibles felt a little superfluous. I collected everything in the first game, got all the backpacks, visited Uncle Ben's grave, the whole works. Miles Morales does feel a little bit like some of the open world stuff is a bit cookie cutter, but when the core mechanics and story are as good as they are, I genuinely couldn't give a toss. If you're looking for a game that truly shows off what a new system can do, then there's not much further to look than Spider-Man Miles Morales. A visual powerhouse of a game that brings some neat new features to a new Spider-Man and some incredible technical advancements that bring unprecedented loading times to a new console. It all makes for some truly impressive moments that remind you that we are, in fact, in a new generation. Oh, and the puddles look lovely too. Thanks for joining me, guys. If you've enjoyed this review, please do drop us a like, leave us a comment and subscribe to the channel because it all helps us to grow. And we will see you next time. Take care. Goodbye.